Steelers fans, you're not going to believe what's happening right now. Trade whispers are getting louder. A defensive superstar is suddenly talking like he's already studying Pittsburgh's quarterback room, and this could be the first sign of a franchise-altering move. If you want daily Steelers updates with real analysis and real hype, make sure you hit subscribe right now because this offseason might be one of the wildest we've seen in years. Let's slow this down for a second because, at first glance, it sounds crazy. We're talking about Maxx Crosby, one of the most relentless pass rushers in the entire NFL, a tone setter, a culture guy, the heart of the defense for the Las Vegas Raiders, and somehow, someway, his name is starting to circle around Pittsburgh. Now, I know what you're thinking. Edge rusher? Really? The Steelers? That's the one position that feels untouchable. You've already got T.J. Watt, who has been the face of the defense for years. You've got Alex Highsmith on the other side. You've got Nick Herbig developing into something serious. On paper, that room looks stacked, but this is where things get interesting. The Steelers aren't just tweaking the roster. They're in transition. A new era, a new head coach in Mike McCarthy, a new defensive coordinator in Patrick Graham, new voices, new philosophies, and when that kind of reset happens, nobody's job is automatically safe just because of what they did 2 or 3 years ago. Here's another detail that matters. Crosby signed a massive extension not long ago, big money, but when you look at the structure, he's actually set to make less per year than Watt over the next stretch. That changes the math. Suddenly, it's not just about talent, it's about cap flexibility, it's about value, it's about timing. And then there's Patrick Graham. Graham coached Crosby in Las Vegas. They built something together. There were league insiders who believed Crosby was one of the reasons Graham stuck around through coaching chaos out there. That's how strong that connection was. Now Graham is in Pittsburgh, new staff, new defensive identity forming, and you're telling me that's just a coincidence? Maybe, but maybe not. The Raiders are still trying to figure themselves out. The Steelers, on the other hand, are trying to reload without fully tearing it down. That's a delicate balance. And when you're trying to stay competitive while also resetting your identity, bold moves start getting discussed behind closed doors. Now let's talk about the uncomfortable part. If Crosby were to come to Pittsburgh, this wouldn't be a simple add another weapon type move. This would require something major going the other way. You don't just stack elite edge rushers like trading cards. Someone would have to be involved. Trading T.J. Watt? That sounds almost disrespectful to even say out loud. He's been the heartbeat of this defense, but he's also coming off a statistically down year by his standards, and he's commanding massive money. Is it impossible? No. Is it emotional? Absolutely. The Highsmith is entering the final year of his deal. That's another pressure point. Herbig wants a bigger role. He's not trying to be a rotational guy forever. These are real dynamics inside that room, and when competition meets contracts, things get complicated fast. This is what roster resets actually look like. They're messy, they hurt, they force fans to think in ways they don't want to. But here's where this story shifts from interesting rumor to, wait, what's going on? Because while Crosby's name is floating in trade conversations, he's also doing something else, something that made a lot of fans pause. He went out publicly and praised a Steelers quarterback, not a star, not a Pro Bowler, not even a starter. We're talking about Will Howard. Howard hasn't taken a real NFL snap yet. He's still an unknown at this level, and yet Crosby, on his own platform, went into detail about why he believes in him. Not a quick compliment, not a throwaway line, a real breakdown, talking about size, intelligence, leadership traits, long-term upside. Why? There's no obvious connection. They didn't play together. They don't share a college background. This wasn't some friendly offseason shout-out. It sounded like someone who's been paying attention. And the timing makes it louder. The Steelers' quarterback situation is once again a giant question mark. Aaron Rodgers hasn't fully committed to anything long-term. The future feels wide open. Inside the building, Mike McCarthy has already expressed excitement about developing Howard. Now you've got an elite defensive player from another franchise echoing that belief publicly. That's not random noise. That's alignment. And when you line up the two storylines side by side, trade buzz surrounding Crosby and Crosby openly supporting Pittsburgh's young quarterback, it starts to feel like smoke gathering in multiple rooms at once. Does this mean a deal is imminent? No. Does it mean negotiations are happening as we speak? We don't know. But in the NFL, when players start talking in specific ways about specific teams during unstable periods, it usually means there's at least awareness, conversations, curiosity, interest. For the Steelers, this matters because it signals something bigger than one player. It signals direction. Are they doubling down on defense and trying to create the most feared pass-rushing duo in football? Imagine Watt and Crosby coming off opposite edges. Quarterbacks wouldn't sleep the week they play Pittsburgh. Offensive coordinators would lose their minds trying to scheme that. Or are they preparing for a philosophical shift, trading a familiar face for a new one, reshaping the locker room hierarchy, building around youth at quarterback while keeping an elite defense intact? Fans are split right now. Some love the aggression. They see Crosby as a culture fit, high motor, blue collar, exactly what Pittsburgh football represents. Others are nervous. They've seen franchise icons moved before. They know how quickly things can unravel if you gamble wrong. Analysts around the league are starting to whisper too, not screaming headlines yet, but connecting dots. Graham's move, The contract structures, the public praise of Howard, the Raiders' instability. This offseason doesn't feel quiet, it feels calculated, and here's the biggest takeaway. The Steelers are no longer operating from comfort, they're operating from urgency. They haven't been true Super Bowl threats in recent years. Competitive, yes. Dangerous in stretches, sure. But not feared the way they once were. Moves like this, if they happen, are about changing that perception immediately. Imagine the message it would send to the AFC, to the division, to the entire NFL. Pittsburgh isn't rebuilding quietly, they're reloading aggressively, or maybe this all fades away. Maybe Crosby stays put. Maybe the Steelers ride with their current edge group and focus entirely on developing Howard. That's the beauty and the torture of the offseason. Possibilities feel limitless, but when multiple threads start weaving into one storyline, fans have every right to pay attention, because sometimes the biggest moves don't start with breaking news alerts. They start with comments, with relationships, with subtle praise, with quiet smoke that slowly turns into something undeniable. Steelers Nation, this is a defining stretch for this franchise. Quarterback uncertainty, defensive reshuffling, new leadership at the top. The decisions made over the next few months could shape the next 5 years. So I've got to ask you, would you pull the trigger on a Crosby deal if it meant giving up a big name, or do you trust the current core to bounce back and dominate? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about it. And if you're excited about where this team could be headed, if you want to stay ahead of every rumor, every trade whisper, every roster shakeup, make sure you hit that subscribe button and join the community. Because if this smoke turns into fire, you're going to want to be right here when it happens.